What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the show. Matt here. Tonight, I want to go through a little bit of a Smackdown recap, as well as cover some of the pieces and updates from Super Showdown that's coming up. Let's just get right into it. Guys, if you want to, check us out on Instagram at Mark and Matt Show. And if you want to as well, check us out on YouTube. And just search for the Mark and Matt Show and hit the notification and subscribe button. If you guys feel like it and want to join the conversation and get this thing up and rolling, really appreciate it, because we want to be able to come to you every single week with news, updates, and our thoughts and get you guys engaged. Well, let's get right into it. So I want to go over a little bit of the Smackdown updates and what happened last night on the show. And I don't want to go into too much out of every single segment, but some of the stuff that stood out to me. One, Big E's return, I thought it was awesome, and they did a... what did they do? They had the Big E lookalike under the big towel, and they unveiled him, and it's just a little E, so it was a skinnier Big E, and they unveiled little E, and then the real Big E came out and did his thing. He got a huge pop coming out, and he was only gone for 6 weeks, which was pretty impressive, but it was good to see him back and back in with a New Day, and it was just good to see all of them back together. The one other thing that really stood out was R-Truth in the 24/7 title, and I think I said this yesterday on the Raw recap when they unveiled the amazing 24/7 title. I thought that R-Truth is a good one to have it with. Maybe they'll run with him a little bit, or at least for the entire episode. And sure enough, they're gonna create a little bit of a narrative going forward for at least a few episodes, hopefully, with Truth having the 24/7 title, because I think it just makes for good comedy and it lightens things up, and you get different superstars trying to grab the title from him, and Truth is a really good guy to have that on and go back and forth. But I want to know what you guys think. My thoughts are that it's going to result in Carmella eventually trying to get the 24/7 title off of him and coming out on top. We'll see what happens, though. I'm curious what they're going to do with it, but I think it'd be a lot of fun if they had Carmella help Truth week over week, and not for too long. I don't want it to stretch out too long. I think it'd just be funny if they had it for maybe another week or two, and then Carmella somehow just sneaks in and wins the title or takes the title from Truth, and then she becomes the 24/7 champion, and on it goes. But I think it's a fun segment. They had Truth dress up. He had a wig, and they were trying to hide. Carmella was trying to hide him all night and get away from the B team ultimately, and they got away. So I think they're doing a good job so far. It's entertaining for this week. It's been 2 shows. And again, we'll see how long this whole thing lasts, but you never know. But so far, so good. I was entertained by it. The only other piece that I wanted to go over was the main one. And this ties into Super Showdown coming up in, 2 weeks' time? We got Dolph Ziggler. And Dolph is back. And he is fighting Kofi for the WWE title. And he came out of nowhere and he attacked Kofi, and it was good heat. He came out of nowhere and did a really good beatdown on Kofi and hit him with some chairs and locked him up in the chairs and took him out and had Kofi go out on the stretcher. And then they did a segment backstage where he was at Gorilla, and then he was going to come out. They were going to interview him and ask him why he did what he did. And he's like, I'm going to go tell them. And he went out on the stage and no music cue, and just came out and started talking about why he did what he did. So Dolph Ziggler goes out and starts cutting his promo on why he attacked Kofi. And it was basically just more of the same of what we've always seen from Dolph. Dolph hasn't been on TV since the Royal Rumble, actually. He wasn't at Mania, he wasn't in the Andre Battle Royal or anything like that. He's been off for several months now, and he came back and he's right into the title picture with Kofi. And his whole promo was about basically how he hasn't had any opportunities, or that that it should have been him. He kept saying it should have been me. They've both had long careers that have kind of paralleled each other. You guys probably remember it felt like for years, the Intercontinental title or the US title was always wrapped around Dolph and Kofi and trading back and forth wins and titles. And I remember that for it felt like 2 years. All they would do was just the two of them back and forth. And they had some good matches, but it was just very much a flat mid-card feud. And now it's in the title picture. So Dolph is back and he feels like the opportunities weren't given to him, and that it should have been him to get the title, and it should have been him at Elimination Chamber, and him at Mania, and all these accolades shouldn't be for Kofi, they should have been for him, and he's been overlooked, and blah, 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 blah. It wasn't a bad promo, it was Dolph. It was just more Dolph Ziggler, and we've gone through everything with Dolph Ziggler. Like, everything. He had a run in, whatever it was, 2011, 2012, where he's probably at his peak, where people were really behind him because it seemed like he was kind of the underdog or getting overlooked. And that's when he was kind of at his ultimate peak. And then from there, he's won the world title twice. We've seen everything Dolph can do. So it's really hard for me to get behind him in a new program. It's just more of the same. It's just more of him. And you're like, okay. And when he came out, he really didn't seem to get much of a reaction. I was trying to pay attention to how the crowd was responding, and they seemed pretty flat, in my opinion, anyways, watching on TV. I don't know what the live crowd was like that night, but Dolph was going through his promo. I just feel like we've been here before. We've done this, and his motivations really aren't there. They're just kind of chucked in there. Maybe if he was going for against Balor or something, then it might have been a little bit better, but he's going right for the title, and I didn't quite understand it. So I thought at first, I'm like, okay, so out of nowhere, you've got Dolph, and I kept wondering once the promo ended, I'm like, well, what's the deal? Where's Kevin Owens? Why are we just done with Kevin and Kofi, and that's all we got? One pay-per-view, and it's over, and they've moved on. So I started reading up today, and I was reading that Kevin Owens isn't going to Saudi Arabia to do the Super Showdown show. He's off of that. So I guess the speculation is that Kevin didn't want to go, and he told Vince and everybody else at WWE that that's not what he wants to do. So he wasn't going to go. So he's not on the card. And I think that's where they slotted a match, or at least a rematch, would have been Kevin versus Kofi for the title. So instead, they called up Ziggler and had him come in, and that's why we got what we got. So we have a 2-week build to get to Saudi Arabia. It's on June 7th is the actual show. So yeah, we've got more or less 2 weeks of a build. We have less than a month of a build between Dolph and Kofi. It's pretty cold. The motivations aren't really there. Then he just blindly attacked Kofi, so it just sets it up. And they called Dolph up, and he's a replacement for KO. Which means the match is going to be fine. It will be what it will be. We know that Dolph is going to lose, and that's what kind of my problem is with all of this, is that they're not building towards anything. And these super showdowns, like from the last one in particular, where we saw a lot more protests from superstars not wanting to go. You had guys like Daniel Bryan not going. You had Sami Zayn not going. This year, we're seeing more of that, and you're seeing more superstars not wanting to go, or they're just flat out not going to the event. I think Vince has done interviews before where he's at least said that, the superstars, the superstars, they can pick if they want to. If they don't want to participate, they don't have to. It's fine. I don't think that's actually true. But I think if they got guys that are a little bit higher up on the card, they can kind of make those decisions, or at least have that conversation. They got a leg to stand on. So a guy like Kevin Owens and Daniel Bryan or John Cena or any of these guys can go to Vince and probably plead their case and say, I don't want to do the show. And then it's kind of ironed out, and that's where we get Dolph versus Kofi at Super Showdown. And like they try to make it canon and have continuity with the rest of what's going on with the storylines, and they're doing that for the most part with this one. But at the same time, like they're kind of screwing themselves because they have to slot this thing right in. Like they just finished Money in the Bank, and now we got to go to this, and then we've got to go to the next pay-per-view right after, and on and on and on we go. It just feels like it's jammed in there, and the Kofi Ziggler is just, it's going to be what it'll be. I mean, it'll probably be a solid match, but it's really more for the spectacle of Saudi Arabia and less about trying to build a storyline. And again, if we had Kevin Owens and Kofi, we would have something better. But now I feel like if I look down the road and you're trying to get to SummerSlam at some point, where you have Extreme Rules and Backlash, but Backlash has been named different pay-per-view, and then we're going into SummerSlam. With Kofi, I'm like, okay, so you got Ziggler now for 2 weeks. Then you've got a break. Then you've got another pay-per-view in a month or less. And what are you going to do? You're going to pull Kevin Owens back in and have him feud with Kofi again for a month, and then it's off, and then you're on. Like, I can't figure out what they're going to do with this. And it just, the Super Showdown, I feel like it hinders a lot of what they're able to do. But yeah, but they, overall, I mean, Smackdown, they saw a ratings bump anyways. I think they got 1.8 was like their viewership from last week's. And this week, I think I read on PW Insider, they ran the poll, or excuse me, they ran the ratings, and it was like 1.9 and 1.9 and change million viewers. So they went up in a 2-hour show. And then overall, the show was pretty tight. Again, 24/7 rule was entertaining. It's nice to kind of have that a little bit of a palate cleanser in the background for having these guys do something other than just a flat backstage segment where R-Truth and Carmella are doing whatever, and it really doesn't have any purpose. So now they got a title, and it gives everything a little bit more meaning for the undercard. And yeah, the Dolph thing, I'm like, I don't care. And that's the problem. I'm not invested in it, and it's just a flat storyline that's just going to end, and then we're just going to move on to somebody else competing with Kofi, and then somebody else, and then maybe teasing Brock along the way to SummerSlam. But we'll probably get Kofi next week on Raw as a wild card, and it'll just keep going. And again, that's where I go back and say that's my issue with the Super Showdown shows they are doing, is that you got to shoehorn all this stuff in. You've got some storylines that are kind of baked, and the other ones are half baked, and you're overlapping them. So like Kofi was just in this thing with Brock and Seth on Monday, and now Tuesday he's going over and fighting Dolph. But then next week there's a pretty good chance he's going to show up on Raw because he's dealing with Brock at the same time. And they're trying to juggle all these pieces, and I'm like, where are you trying to go with this? You have these feuds that you have Kofi dealing with on TV, but it's almost like, yeah, those are just more of a TV feud. The big one is when we're going to look at him and Brock, or him and Seth and Brock, and whatever that's going to be. So I feel like it's just jumbled and it's a bit of a mess. Now, when you look at the Superstar Showdown, so we've got Ziggler and Kofi, we've got Roman and Shane, Balor and Andrade, and right now, and you have Braun and Bobby Lashley has been announced for the show. Oh, excuse me. And then we also have Triple H and Randy Orton as doing kind of a legacy rematch. And I should say, I meant that Hunter is a legacy superstar, basically, not legacy, the group. I meant that they're legacy superstars. They're an evolution, that they're old now. So they're going to fight. And then you have Taker versus Goldberg for the first time ever. I'm going to do a full Super Showdown preview once we actually get closer to it, but I mean, the card is what it is. They're trying to make it as big as WrestleMania, and that's what all the ads are saying for it. And the card, for the most part, is that. But we don't have Brock here. He's advertised for the event, but he has no match, and now he's Money in the Bank. So what? We're gonna get Brock just kind of showing up and boom boxing around the ring, and then he leaves and gets paid, or are we gonna see him in an actual match? We've got Seth isn't on the card yet, because it's probably going to be Seth versus Brock, and they're just not announcing it. And this is where I said yesterday, I'm like, what if they do it? What if they actually, I should leave this for predictions, but I can't help myself. But what if they have Brock beat Seth in Saudi Arabia, and then in the same night, cashes in on Kofi and wins both titles, and he becomes pure, undisputed champion of everything? To me, I don't think they'll do that. They put too much equity into Seth and Kofi, and Kofi's on a really good babyface run right now. Seth is solid as he's always been. They both really need strong feuds. They both need something to work with. And I think Brock is that, but they need something consistent on both their ends. Roman and Shane it's good. It's kind of leading to that. I kind of wish that they were going to wait on this match and save it for, say, SummerSlam. And I feel like they're hot-shotting it a little bit because I think there's a lot more mileage they could get out of it. I'm not huge on Roman. To me, he's still kind of flat. They need to do more, but they're using different guys like Drew, and they're using Elias, and Shane has all the muscle behind him. But we'll see what happens with that. I mean, I think they can still get another match out of them come SummerSlam. The Taker Goldberg, again, I don't want to get into everything, but it will be what it'll be. It'll probably be a spear and a choke slam and a 5-minute match that will be kind of sad to watch. Hopefully not, but we'll see. But yeah, I think the big things that are coming out of the last 2 days is that we've got Dolph coming in fighting Kofi, and we've got Daniel Bryan's off the card. He wasn't their last show last year, and he's not doing this show again, so you're not going to get the Smackdown tag titles on there. You're probably going to get something with the Raw tag titles, which, great. Let's get them off Ryder and Hawkins and do something different. You got Lashley and Strowman, which I don't really understand why that's a feud, but other than it's just the monster to battle the almighty Super Showdown at Super Showdown is what they're tagging it. It just seems like it's a big man monster match. I don't remember. I'm trying to think right now. Like, I don't recall that there's actually any heat behind this, why they would be fighting each other. But we'll see. We'll see what they're going to do. I'm looking at the main tagline and the main artwork, and Seth is on there with AJ's on the poster too. So probably have the two of them just do a rematch. It's the easiest, safest thing to do. But that means that AJ has lost twice to Seth. So you might have to do something where it's a double DQ, or both guys get pinned, or Brock gets involved somehow and causes a distraction. You won't have AJ win the title, but you can't have AJ lose twice on pay-per-view. So I don't know. I'm going to see what they're going to do. Overall, I thought SmackDown was pretty good. Kind of just, it was solid. I mean, it was fine overall. There wasn't anything huge. Oh, the Ali Andrade match, I thought was awesome, though. Just to touch on that real quick, not going bit by bit, but man, they put on a good... Andrade did, was it the double knee into the corner? Ali had his face into the turnbuckle, like the lower turnbuckle, and Andrade goes to the corner, bounces, and runs full tilt and double knees him in the back of the head. I thought it was an awesome spot. Ali is really, really good. Andrade too. I think they could do a lot with this food. I know Andrade is going to go and fight Finn. I think they should almost, if Ali would go to Saudi Arabia, I don't know if he's scheduled to go or what he's doing, but I turn that into a triple threat and put a freaking ladder in there too and make it mean something. I think Ali is just, give him a year. I wish he won Money in the Bank. I really do. Him or Drew. I think Drew would have been a safe choice, but I think if you put it on Ali, you could have built that guy for a full year, even if he got injured and came back. But I think that guy's money, and they know it. They're just going to build him slowly and give him a big Intercontinental spot at, Money in the Bank, or excuse me, at SummerSlam. But we'll see what happens. But guys, other than that, I didn't have any other big points coming out of this other than we have some updates for Super Showdown. The 24/7 title is fully in effect right now, and it's going all right. The biggest thing I think is just I'm looking at what the card's going to be the next 2 weeks. If we're going to get Goldberg to show up on Raw or anything before Super Showdown, Taker as well. And you got Brock kind of looming around. He's going week to week, so it'll be interesting. So anyways, guys, I don't want to take up too much time tonight. I just want to go through a few of the key highlights, see what's going to happen next. Next week, it sounds like we're going to have Brock on Raw, more of the 24/7 shenanigans. I'm really going to be paying attention this time to what they do in the third hour. I really want to go in depth on that because it looks like we're going to have the lights dimmed down and they're going to strip everything down and it's going to be all dark and gloomy, and they're going to do that type of theme for the third hour. And I wonder if they're going to change anything when it comes to the promos and how everyone kind of goes about it in the third hour, if it makes a difference or if we see anything drastically different. The only thing is, like, things we're watching and things we've been doing. I watched the WWE Chronicle. Was it the Chronicle or the 24/7? Anyways, the special is Becky Lynch's special. I watched that, and it was her whole lead up for Mania and for the main event, triple threat with Rousey and Charlotte. And I thought it was really well done. What I did notice was that they did a ton of footage of her and Seth together. And then coincidentally, you get the jab by Heyman on Raw about how his girlfriend main evented or went on 7 hours. He had to wait 7 hours for his girlfriend to main event, and he didn't. So they really, really highlighted the two of them being together. And I thought the show was good. I thought Becky Lynch's profile was really, really well done. They went back to her home in Ireland. They talked about her build-up. I always like those specials because they just give you better insight. But I'm like, they're way better than any promos they do on Raw or SmackDown. Like, do more of those. Like, shrink them down into 5 minutes or 3 minutes. Try to get that realism across because it gets you so much more invested in the superstar. You get a better sense of them. Even the one they did with Roman, I was like, okay, you buy into it a little bit more. And if you did that with like everybody, like you don't have to do a full 1 hour special, but even if you did 30 minutes on, I don't know, Ryder and Hawkins with the Raw tag titles and got me to care a little bit more. You start getting more invested in them other than just seeing them for 5 minutes in a match on Raw and then it's over. So, yeah, I thought the Becky Lynch special was really good. It was fun to watch. It was fun to see her interact with everybody, and I just like them because they're just kind of a little bit behind the scenes of what's going on. But anyways, guys, that's it for tonight. Again, short episode. Really just wanted to cover the highlights. Kofi and Dolph. Dolph is back. We're going to kind of suffer through that one together. I wonder if his intro music is going to have like the scratch record when he does that and comes out, or he comes out to no music or comes out with some music. Maybe he hasn't decided what he's going to do yet, but it's going to be what it'll be. And I wonder if Kevin Owens is going to be back on Raw, or excuse me, KO's going to be back on SmackDown in the next little bit, but maybe he will show up on Raw because it's wild card, right? So it's wild card rules. Kevin just shows up. Anyways, guys, thanks for tuning in, and we'll talk to you soon, and we'll get back on here next week so we can cover more Raw, SmackDown, and all of the updates happening in the wild world of WWE. Take care, everybody. Bye.